in public. Now in 12 states, people are getting 10, 15, 20 years. But in his case, the judge finally dropped it, even though the state came down to their county there in Illinois and said, no, we want life in prison for a guy with no criminal record filming police who'd been coming and towing cars off of his a garage property. I mean, this is like so absurd. If I read this in a Kurt Vonnegut book 20, 30 years ago about a cartoon future police state of absurdist proportions, it would not be believable even in a absurdist dark satire book. But now it's just here. Now it's happening. Now it's going on. And I see these cases every day in the news where people film police, sometimes from hundreds of yards away, and they don't just arrest you. In many cases, they beat you and then charge you with assaulting them. And sometimes they, claim that the person physically attacked them, but then others have shot video in a clandestine position, and the police get caught lying. Kind of like last year when the cop shot the guy who was in handcuffs in the back in San Francisco and then lied about it and confiscated all the cameras. But somebody on a train that was stopped shot what really happened. So there's certainly a culture in policing in this country now that they're the good guys, and they'll lie about you and say that you assaulted them just to teach you a lesson. 2 to 10 years in prison just because you dared videotape them. Now, in this latest case that happened a few days ago in Austin, it's gotten local attention. Now it's getting national attention because this gentleman has never been arrested, has no criminal record, is a national and state liaison for West Point. He's an Iraq war veteran. He's involved with disadvantaged children, and they've got a big problem. He was at a gas station, and ABC News Local has also covered this and was videotaping. We're going to show some of that coming up in a few minutes. And was taking photos of them manhandling some women. They were pulling out of a car, a passenger. And so they came up and got in his face, and the police didn't know it was being videotaped from across the street. They said that he had assaulted him, but now that the videos come out, they say, well, we mean he spit on us. And the police officer told him in the paddy wagon, I'm going to teach you a lesson. You're going to learn who the boss is. So we're going to talk about that with Antonio F. Beeler. He has an amazing bio. He's also a teacher here in Austin, Texas, as well. He came from Eastern Pennsylvania, coal mining town, and he was the only member of his family to ever graduate from high school. From there, he moved on and attended the United States Military Academy at West Point. He's got multiple degrees. He received his BS in Systems Engineering from the United States Military Academy at West Point, an MBA from the Stanford Graduate School of Business. And he joins us here in studio to break this down. He's also a big Ron Paul activist. That's why most of my crew has actually met him and already knows. He's organized for years the Ron Paul runs here in town. He's an all-around evil guy that taxpayers need to pay for 10 years in prison for daring to talk to police and take photographs. Antonio, good to have you here in studio with us, my friend.
Likewise, pleasure.
Well, you're a very evil person here. I mean, I've got all your bio as a West Point Department of Defense liaison, for recruitment and all sorts of other things. And now you're in a bunch of trouble. So tell us exactly what happened on record, because his lordship, Art Aceveda, the Austin police chief, who sat in that chair, says that his officers did a wonderful job.
Right. So it was New Year's Eve. We just came back from a house party. I was a designated driver. I had one drink. It was a beer at 8:30 p.m., and this is around 1 o'clock, so I was completely sober. And we were running low on gas, so we decided to stop and fill up before I dropped my buddy off at home. We pull in, and in between us and the street is a black sedan that's pulled over with a female outside of it getting a field sobriety test. We observed the fact that she was in high heels and she was freezing and doing this field sobriety test. We just thought it was kind of awkward, but nothing to really, get too focused about. But they were there, so we just kept watching. I'm filling up the gas tank. When we get finished, we noticed that a cop, the bulkier, dark-haired cop named Snyder, is walking over to the passenger side, opens up the door, and the next thing you know, we just hear a very loud scream. I turn around and look, and she's flying out the door. The officer yanked her out the car, right to her knees on the concrete, twisting her arms behind her back. The other officer, the light-haired guy, His name is Aborski. He runs over, joins in. They have her arms locked behind her back, and they lift her up that way.
And I've had police do this to me in Round Rock when I asked George Bush some questions at a press conference they didn't like, where they do crank the arms up, but not even this high, and I still have shoulder damage 14 years later. This happened in 1998, and we've got a photo we can show that you took where they've got them just cranked all the way up, and you say that they later actually picked her up this way.
That's right. I mean, from my perspective,
that's a torture move.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course, you're an Army Ranger. I mean, I'm sure probably in your training where they give you to know how to withstand torture, you already knew that.
Well, I'm Ranger qualified, but no one's ever picked me up that way. I don't think I would have enjoyed it.
And there's the photo, but you're saying they continue to pick her all the way up.
Right. They picked her up according to, they pulled her up that way, and she screamed. She was, screaming and crying. She was in so much pain. My friend and I, we started taking pictures. She saw us taking pictures, and then she just begged us. She's crying, and she begged us, please film this, because she knew she was being assaulted. And then, so they walk her towards the squad car, and then Aborski, the light-haired guy, he just turns around, comes back towards me, and he's marching towards me, and he's asking something along the lines of, who do you think you are? Why are you taking pictures? He gets in my face.
You thought you were a citizen.
Well, I thought I had First Amendment rights.
Yeah.
So he gets in my face, starts yelling and screaming. I'm yelling and screaming back at him. It's my right. It's my duty. Public official, public
and we have
place.
some footage of that as well. You're at the 7-Eleven. You're standing back. You're getting these photos. The lady's begging you, woman in distress. They're putting her through these different pain compliance moves. Please continue.
So then eventually he just pushes me in the chest area, throws me back. I immediately put my arms up like this to protect myself so that they didn't think that I was doing anything. Then I scream, why are you touching me? You have no right to touch me. Get your hands off me. Get out of my face. And he's yelling at me.
Now, that is official oppression. We have the video where your arms are clearly up. Yeah. You're leaning back so they can't even. Now, I saw reports a few months ago where they beat people in fetal positions. They say that is resisting an assault.
Apparently.
So now a newborn baby, they might as well billy club it to death.
Right.
Because it's with Al-Qaeda. Please continue.
Yeah, I never did anything aggressive. I just put my hands up, and he's leaning in on me, and I'm leaning further and further back over the bed of the truck. And at some point, he just claims, you just spit on me. And I said, no, I didn't. And then he starts trying to grab my arm. And I was putting my hands up, and I was trying to stay stiff because I saw what they did to that female. And I didn't want to get broken arm, a dislocated shoulder.
You didn't want to roll over every night with excruciating pain in your shoulder like I do 14 years later just because they wanted to show me they were boss.
Right, exactly. I mean, that female was manhandled. So they eventually take me to the ground. The other officer, I don't know if it was Snyder or someone else that came in on the tail end of it. I think it was Snyder. Puts me in an arm lock, literally slamming on the back of my elbow, as if they're trying to dislocate my elbow.
They wanted to show you.
Oh, yeah. They wanted to really hurt me. And I asked them point blank, I said, are you trying to break my arm? And then another guy comes running up to the side, and I just thought he was going to kick me in the face. So I just screamed at him, are you going to kick me in the face? And then someone says, I'll tase him. And then I immediately put my hands behind my back because, I know bad things have happened when people have been tased. And
once they can say you're resisting, once the tasing begins, then the blood feast, the piranha attack begins like sharks in a frenzy. They could taser for quite a while as they're enjoying the masochistic pain.
Yeah, and after that, they pulled everything out of my pocket. I said, can you at least give my keys to my friend so he's not stuck here? They said, no, too bad. And then they put me in a squad car and eventually drove me to the Batmobile, where they decided to administer a blood alcohol test on me. They said that I was a DUI. And I asked them, I said, are you just making up claims now? And they said, well, you were drinking and driving. And then I laughed, and I said, you know what? I'll take the test because I want to see how ridiculous the score is. They made me blow twice and then told me to sit down, and I just kept asking, what's the score? What's the score? Because I wanted to know the score. I wanted to know if it was 0.00. Then he goes, oh, you broke it. You blew too hard. You broke the breathalyzer. And then at that point, I believe Orlowski, or Borski, or whatever his name is, he comes back into the vehicle, and the guy looks over at him because he knows something's wrong, and goes, is this guy a DUI? And he goes, oh, no, he's not a DUI. And so the guy turns to me and goes, well, what are you in here for? I said, because your fellow officers decided that they were going to assault a female, and I decided to take pictures and question their tactics. At that point, I get taken out to the paddy wagon, and I have a little conversation with the Borski. And I really hope that there's some audio for this. That would be fabulous. But the essence of the conversation was, you don't F with cops. You don't get in our effing way. You don't question us. And we're going to teach you a lesson.
And Obama launched wars without Congress and the Constitution. He's now assigning judges, pure power grab. They're talking about impeachment because you don't get in his effing way. Hitler said, don't get in my effing way. Stalin said, don't get in my effing way. Caesar said, don't get in my effing way. And the banks have said, don't get in my effing way. They just take people's houses that are paid for now. Why have a rule of law? I mean, who are these cops that want to live in a country where their own families aren't safe? I know a lot of police aren't bad people, but they are recruiting thugs now. And they're trying to recruit people. I know you were in Iraq, but the ones that like and enjoy the same type of activities we saw there, and it's really creepy. This has become a news issue now. How did it become a news issue? And, I mean, obviously you're facing, 2 to 10 years in prison. I guess you're going to take this all the way to a jury trial.
Absolutely, yeah. I felt pretty vulnerable. I'm sitting in jail. I think that my life is going to take a drastic detour. I know that I didn't do anything wrong. It started out with I was interfering, then it turned into a DUI, then it turned into felony harassment, and I knew that they were just making up claims. And I just knew a felony was bad. I didn't know what the actual legal code was. I didn't know that it was 2 to 10 years. But I knew that I was in a bad situation, and it was my word against a bunch of cops. So I knew as soon as I got out, I had to take the offensive, go to the media. There were at least 2 witnesses at the scene that my friend had noticed. One was across the street who ended up taking the video. We didn't know that at the time. After the ordeal was over, he started yelling at the cops. What did they do? Nothing. They did nothing illegal. They were doing nothing wrong. And the cops yelled back to him, you need to keep walking or else you're going to be the 4th arrest tonight. And he said, why? I'm not doing anything illegal. And they said, because it's 2 a.m. on New Year's Eve. The other witness tried to come up to my friend to give him her business card, and the cops stepped in between them until my friend, he better get
So
back
now
in the
blocking
truck.
witnesses, blocking citizens.
Yep.
Having communication with each other. Got to keep the prisoners apart.
So I created flyers. My friends were helping me, Facebook and Twitter friends as well, and we just started plastering, the flyers with the picture of a Borski.
Yeah, you need this witness, or they're going to be able to falsely accuse you, bear false witness, and throw you in the jail. Which is incredible official oppression. I mean, it's the way so many police now beat people up and then charge them with assaulting them, like we're not humans, like having our lives ruined because they're cops. We're just supposed to, live like this.
Yeah, and God, thank God, these 2 people just came forward, and not only 2 people came forward, 3 people have now come forward. All people have contacted me, said that they're going to sign affidavits, that they'll stand up in court, and they'll speak the truth about the police abuse. The fact that the police assaulted 2 innocent civilians that night, and that they levied false charges. Both me and the female who was assaulted, we were told that we were interfering with an investigation. Well, she ended up getting a public intoxication charge, and I ended up getting a felony harassment charge. Neither of us got interference of an education.
So to be clear, though, you told me off air that they pulled these people over at 7-Eleven, and that the passenger was telling the driver about her rights, and that's what caused them to attack Dog Herb. I mean, in your own words.
Yeah, no. So she, her friend was getting out of the car when the cop pulled her over, and she just said, "Don't take the breathalyzer." And her friend goes back to the back of the car, so she yells again, "Do not take a breathalyzer." The cop, Borski, comes up, leans in the car. I don't know what he said, but he essentially said, "Shut up! Don't get in the way of this, sobriety test." And then she's sitting there and she's just looking in the rearview mirror, and she sees her friend is scared, and so then she yells again. She's on the phone actually as well, so there's another witness.
But if Borski wanted to get the drunks, he'd go to the cop bars. I mean, he could arrest all of them. Well, he'd probably pull over some other police cars and find some drunks. But, I mean, I'm sorry, expanding on that. So what happened next?
Well, I think that the driver was black and the passenger was Hispanic. That might have helped a little bit. But, at that point, she screams out once again, "Do not take a breathalyzer." And then apparently Borski tells Snyder, he goes, "Go get her," according to the other female. And so he comes running around the car, starts talking to her, opens up the passenger door. From my perspective, It didn't look like anything. You know, it's a little innocent, harmless female, so I was like, whatever. This poor